Hello guys! I wanted to hop on here quick and really just talk about something that has been fresh on my mind after seeing some of you guys as you come into the Learn Yoga Anatomy group. A lot of your questions that are coming up. One of the questions as far as when you join the group is asking you as a yoga teacher, what are some of the hardships? And as a yoga student, what are some of the your issues and problems and the things that come up for you that you wish you had some help with? So I kind of compiled a bunch of different things, a bunch of my different thoughts into the 3 mistakes that every yoga teacher is making. Please know I'm not picking on you, just trying to make everyone just a little bit better as a yoga teacher, because the better yoga teacher you are, the more money that's going to be kept in your pocket, the more students that you're going to have, the more students that are going to be coming back to your class, and then the more students that maybe want you for a private, right? So usually there's incentives at yoga studios. If you have X amount of students in class, whether it's 10, something like that, you get an added bonus. And I really have found if you're getting paid $25 or $30 a class as a yoga teacher, you're jumping from class to class to class. And if you're teaching a 60-minute flow, you have to be there 30 minutes to 15 minutes early. You then need to clean up the room, which might take you 15 minutes, maybe even more, especially if you're a studio that has a bunch of showers, right? Now you're waiting for your students to get out of the shower so you can leave. So you are getting paid less than $25 an hour if you are just teaching for your 25-minute for your $25 per class. So really, I want you guys to be making more money. I love yoga. I want you guys as yoga teachers to be able to support yourself doing what you love, because isn't that everybody's end goal? So my 3 things. Number 1, the first mistake every yoga teacher is making is not watching your students to help them, but you're watching to fix them. This verbiage to fix, right? There's nothing wrong with them. So why are we in there making sure every little, your knee is exactly over your ankle? Is that really going to cause them pain down the line? Potentially, yes, but maybe not. If their hips are tight, if their hips are shaped a certain way as far as the bone structure, they're never going to be able to get their knees perfectly over their ankle. In, for example, a Warrior 2, talking about the front knee. Thank you, Brandon. So don't fix anything. They're showing up as they are. They're doing the best that they can. And hopefully they're either listening to you or doing their own thing, right? We all have showed up to a class to get something out of it. I know I've shared on here before about my sexual assault and the trauma I went through. And the thing I did the day after my assault was show up to my mat. And I stayed in child's pose literally the entire class. If I had a teacher come up and ask me to stand up or whatever, I don't think I would have gone back to yoga, right? The teacher that was teaching the class that I went to gave me the space to show up as I was. I stayed in child's pose. I came up for tree pose halfway through the course, and I sat my ass right back down into child's pose. So never fix anyone. You don't know their bone structure, especially if they're a ClassPass student or someone just that you see every now and then. You don't know their bone structure very well. The more you get to know a student, the more you can kind of learn what their postures look like, and you can be able to help them assist, dive deeper into some of that, but only until you know your students can you really know. So my biggest thing here is, and I say this, if you've ever been to any of my trainings, you will hear me say this time and time again. What is your intention? If you can tell someone in, for example, a lizard lunge, where you step your right foot outside your right hand and you can let come up onto the pinky toe, my intention for you there is to feel a stretch in the inside of your right hip for that specific example. So have an intention, build your intention. A lot of my intentions sometimes are just feel your hamstrings. So we'll be in doing a single leg Tadasana, but we're curling our heel into our bum. Feel your hamstring there. You might need to pull your heel a little bit more towards your booty. You might need to pull it a little bit more towards the outside of your body, but have an intention. Tell your students what your intention is, and then see what happens. It's so empowering as a teacher to just tell your students to feel something and then notice how all of them will do something different. Because again, every single person is shaped differently, is made differently, has different backgrounds, comes from different athletic stuff, right? Different injuries. All of this is going to impact how they look on the mat. So have an intention, but never, never, ever try and fix anybody, right? That's not your job. Oh, Roseanne, I love you so much. Listen to this later. Thank you. I love you. Okay, number 2, the second most common mistake I see yoga teachers making is in sequencing. This is one of my all-time favorite things to talk about. So my background is in Baptiste. So in the Baptiste flow, you have basically a sequence that you learn, a sequence that you go through, and a sequence that is set. It is awesome. Baron Baptiste has done a beautiful job working with different sports people, sports medicine, orthopedic surgeons, all that. So I am a true advocate for Baptiste yoga. However, I know that it's not for everyone. Same with the Hot 26 practice. I see the intentions behind it. I know the lineage and whatever comes for a purpose. Hot 26 is not built for everyone. I'm super bendy in my knees. And if I lock my knees out with every standing posture, right, I am going to be in pain. So, and I have been in pain before. But as far as sequencing goes, and I'm specifically speaking to the vinyasa style, right? Hot 26 kind of is what it is, and you can help your people get out of pain by modifying the postures, which I understand you don't really modify too much in Hot 26. I teach the anatomy. I teach my own way. Cindy at Yoga Soul kind of lets me do my thing. So, but as far as sequencing in the vinyasa world, you want to make sure you are moving everybody through the 3 different planes of motion. Why is this important? This is important because we only move forward every day. We sit on our computer every day. We sit on our phone and we have these rounded shoulders, forward head posture. Our hands are out in front of us, right? We drive, we eat, we type. Everything is out in front of us. So with everything being out in front of us, guess what? We need to do the opposite. So the opposite of everything leaning forward is all of your back bends, all of your locust pose, all of your everything that pulls you back, right? Helps strengthen your back muscles. My favorite way to do that is just through a locust pose. No bind with the hands, but reach your arms out straight in front of you, out like a Y, out like a capital letter T, and down to your sides, right? So you get to activate through those muscles. So as a teacher, I want you to intentionally sequence every plane of motion, all 3. And the 3 planes of motion is the sagittal plane. Sagittal plane cuts you in left and right halves. So these are all anything that moves you in a flexion or an extension. You have the frontal plane, which takes you through front and back body. This is all, picture a jumping jack, your side lunges. Then the last one is going to be your transverse plane, and your transverse plane is going to cut you in top and bottom halves. So this is basically, picture anything that makes you have to twist. If you want to learn more about planes of motion, I have the best online course for you. There's a whole section on it. It is one of my favorite things to teach. And there's actually, I have a free YouTube video. I'll post it next when we're done with this, so you guys can learn all about planes of motion. I think it's fascinating. I've been learning about planes of motion since 7th grade, and only did I understand it fully and the impact of the planes of motion was when I was getting my master's degree in biomechanics. And I've been learning about plane of motion since 7th grade. So I preach this a lot. If you've ever been to my trainings, I absolutely preach this a lot. But you need to move everything. So the fascia is influenced. Your intervertebral discs are influenced by movement. And the more you can move your body, which is not just doing the same things every day, it's not just doing yoga every day, especially the same sequence of yoga every day, right? We call this chronic movement, chronic injuries, running, biking, all of these cardio things, right? But it's the same with yoga. It's repetitive. It causes excess stress on your body through the same spots all the time. So we want to mix it up. We want to go to a Zumba class, a bounce class, a bar class, go to the gym and pick up some weights and just do whatever feels good. Do some body weight stuff. Go to yoga. Do the meditation. But you want to move your body and challenge your body through all different planes of motion. So adding in some twists, adding in some frontal plane movement. Frontal plane is one of the hardest ones that I have. People tell me is hard to sequence. Especially if you have knee pain, right? Skandasana, the side lunge, does not feel good if you have knee pain. So just kind of different things, but anything that moves you in this frontal plane, and then of course our flexion and extension with the sagittal plane movement. Another thing just to add, I love sun salutation A's. I love them to warm up. I call it a warm up, right? Just when you first start in a vinyasa flow, you go through some traditional sun A's. You might add some cat-cows in there, whatever. All of that is sagittal plane movement. And why I enjoy this at the beginning of a class is because when we move every day, all day, we move sagittal plane. So our bodies are used to it. Our bodies are adaptive to it. Maybe not so much the back extension, but all the forward folds and all of that stuff. You have to pick something up off the floor. You have to tie your shoe. All of these things are sagittal plane. So to warm somebody up through the sagittal plane usually won't cause too much stress and strain, because it is something we are used to doing. So just think about that. When you warm your people up, are you trying to add in some transverse movement a little bit too early? Are you trying to add some hip transverse movement a little bit too early? Think of Warrior Two. Warrior Two has an open hip position. So yes, that's not just straight sagittal plane. Versus crescent lunge. Crescent lunge is going to be straight sagittal plane. So maybe you're adding a Warrior Two and maybe a little bit too early before your students' hips are really fully warmed up. Just things to think about. Things to put on your plate as you're starting to sequence some flows out. Good, so that's number 2. The last one is basically functionality. Lack of a better word, functionality. Basically, as yoga teachers, we try and make everything so fancy, fluffy, feel good, look good, and it's pretty, and we're adding in pistol squats, and we're adding in double binds, and we're adding in all this stuff. Think about who's in front of you. That's who you need to sequence to. Don't think about what you're working on in your practice. Don't think about what you think they need. Actually, think about that, but don't think about what you think they might want. Where are they at? And how can you meet them there? And yes, add in some challenges, right? But give them an option. Maybe today you come to Malasana and not to your arm balance of crow pose, whatever you're working on. Maybe you start to add in some more glute strengthening before you ask them for a big back bend, right? Think about the people in front of you. You have a sorority girl, walks into a yoga class. This isn't a joke. I don't have a good punny ending. But you have a sorority girl, right? Walks into a yoga class. What are you going to give her, right? She thinks that she needs a workout. She's there to sweat. She's there to, look good Friday night, whatever. Not to stereotype, but to stereotype a little bit. Versus you have older population. You have a 70-year-old person walk into the same yoga class. How are you going to make this flow functional for both of them? If you have a lot of pregnant women who show up to your classes, you have a lot of football players, high school kids, right? Everyone's gonna need something different. Think about what they need. Think about what they might want, right? For your sorority girl, she's college. Think of college. The lack of self-worth. I just taught a group of maybe 80 college women through Belmont University, and a beautiful group of women. The only things they were talking about was their yoga clothes, and then how, I can't do yoga, I'm not stretchy, I'm not this. Like, you've heard all of this. But then the lack of self-worth almost made me cry. And just, this isn't a pretty pose. This isn't, man. Anyways, you need to make them stay. They want to move fast. They think they need a workout. What happens if you ask them to stay and slow down and learn how to feel confident in their body and learn how strong and powerful their body is, right? Have you ever stayed in Warrior 2 for a minute? I'm not saying that's what you need to sequence in, but there's a lot of shit that comes up in your mind when you're sitting in Warrior 2 and your muscles start to burn and you start questioning if you can actually do this and can you actually stay? And if you can, and even if you can't, how empowering is it to just try? Get that physical challenge and mentally crush it. Even if you have to bring your arms from a Warrior 2 arms to shorten the arms, right? If you shorten the lever arm, if you shorten your arm, this makes your arm less heavy. So maybe this is your modification for people when they want to start putting their arms down in Warrior 2. They still get to stay, but you're still asking them for a different challenge. You're still challenging them. Versus your older population, you're asking them to come to Warrior 3, inhale and lift your leg to a 3-pointed dog, and then exhale, step your foot between your hands. I teach a lot of older population. They can't do that. None of them can. The people I've been working with for over a year are just starting to be able to do that. They've lost a bunch of coordination. So maybe you ask them to come to their knees first. And then maybe they kick their leg out straight, turn on the glutes, really turn your core on, notice what happens to their spine. They're gonna lose the integrity. So cue the integrity back, make them move slow so they work some of that strength, right? Because think of your older population. When they fall down, they need to get back up off the floor. So have them come to hands and knees, step their foot outside their right hand, right? That gives you more room instantly. You're not trying to squeeze it through the space between your mat and your belly. So step your foot outside your hand and then notice, can you then maybe heel toe your foot back to the middle? And then instead of coming up to a crescent lunge, which requires a ton of balance, maybe they just come up into a half lunge with their knee on the floor. If they need extra cushions, give them that, right? Versus the people who show up just to stretch, they might not want to do all your flowy, fluffy stuff. And sure, challenge them, make them step out of their comfort zone. But if you know that they are so stiff, right? Think of these big muscle men and women who go to the gym all the time who love it. They need to stretch, they need to open, they need the mobility. So give them that. If you're working on handstand, that doesn't mean you need to program handstand into your flows. If you're teaching that population and that's what they want to learn, give them that. But look at the people in front of you. Sequence for them. Don't sequence for yourself. And definitely don't sequence just to make it look pretty, right? We need to make it functional. We need to work our back body more. We need to strengthen the whole, what we call posterior chain. This is from the back of your head all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And then, learn to slow down. Learn to get comfortable in the discomfort. Standing in front of a room as a yoga teacher is intimidating, right? We're asking these people to dive into the workings of their body, to dive into their emotional and spiritual body when we might not feel fully present that day, when we might just feel like we don't have it all together. How can they trust me to lead them when I don't have my shit together, right? Little bit of fake it till you make it, but then also just trust yourself. You have enough knowledge. If you don't, ask somebody to teach you, right? Ask practice teachers who feel a little bit more comfortable. But the biggest thing is, don't want your students to fix them. Sequence appropriately and making sure you're moving through all 3 planes of motion. And then don't make it so fancy, keep it functional. I think if you implement these 3 things and kind of just approach your classes and your students from a little different perspective, I think, yes, absolutely, you are going to be attracting more students. You're going to be keeping more students in your classes. They will be talking now about how good they feel after your classes, right? Because you are intentionally sequencing for them. They're going to invite their people. More people in your class, more money in your pocket, more people that actually learn how to trust you, right? We have this know, like, trust factor that you need before you buy anything. And this is just meeting people where they're at, helping people get out of pain. Obviously, my specialty, but you guys can do it too. and I'm here to teach you, right? I have a free 5-day Learn Yoga Anatomy Challenge. I'm calling it a Yoga Teacher Training Anatomy Prerequisite. This will teach you all of my favorite tips and tricks. And hopefully we'll get you some more privates, right? If you can get people out of pain, they're gonna trust you. If somebody trusts you, now they're gonna wanna work with you. Therefore, you can charge more for a private. You can go to their home, they can come to yours, however you run your privates, go to your studio, whatever. And now you have more privates, you have more people in classes, you're making more money per class, and now you're making a living teaching yoga. If you guys have any questions about this or how to implement some of this, please send me a DM, whether you're on Facebook right now or on my Instagram. Let me know what questions you have. And then again, be sure to sign up for my free 5-day yoga prerequisite. It will be hosted on the Learn Yoga Anatomy Facebook group. So if you're not on there now, either send me a DM in Instagram or just head right over to Facebook and I will make sure to add you to the list. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste. Love you guys.